Hello world. Uh, this is subscribers request episode 42, and I have to make it relatively quick before work. I got a message, a comment. I got the comment a couple days ago from this guy, Puerto Master. Okay, can you do a tutorial on rigging these car parts? I don't really have a time to do full car rigging tutorial, and actually I don't really know even how to do it. But I did relatively, well, not really simple. I gotta tell you, first of all, rigging is not easy thing, at least to me, especially technical rigging. Well, it's not like I'm doing a lot of character rigging, but this is not easy, I should warn you. So I assume you already know how to make 3D modeling, and I assume you have at least some knowledge in rigging. So it's not tutorial for newbies, for people who new in Blender. So let's start. Okay, it is relatively easy to make one joint hinge. You basically need just one bone. For that, sometimes you don't even need bone, you just need you can make animation without armature system in Blender, without bone system. But actually I did some, yeah, you can see here I didn't use the bone system, I just animated this piece of geometry. Here you can see animation keys, and because it's just one joint hinge, it's relatively easy. It's very easy to make this kind of thing on any shape, basically on any shape, if it is a outside hinge, you know, like if it's outside, it is relatively easy. You don't really need bone system, you just make animation on the geometry, and here it is, and it's relatively easy. I personally really like when all these things has a logic and look realistic. Here it look realistic, but then unrealistic thing, it's just one hinge, and for like if it was built for real, it would be wobbly, you know, like it has to be at least on 2 points. What I mean by that, it has to look like this, like it has to be attached to 2 places. Oh, here you can see what temporarily I can, well, temporarily I can clear parent in. And if I parent it right now, it's gonna work. Yeah, this look more realistic. And outside hinges, yeah, it doesn't look good on this type of vehicle, futuristic sci-fi car, but it really depends on the design, the type of design, and actually the outside hinges, they're like in real life very reliable. They have very they're very simple. They're not complex, very simple, and that's why they're very reliable. And this type of hinges usually used are in a military vehicles. Outside hinges, and it is very reliable, and it is simple to make in CG. You don't really need a bone system for that, armature system. Okay, but sometimes you need, like, because of the shape of the vehicle, because of the how the line cut it on the shape of the vehicle, on the body of the vehicle, it is impossible sometimes to make one hinge, simple hinge, one joint hinge, and you have to use a multi-joint hinge. It's too bad that I closed it. I have example here. This type of multi-joint hinges are, well, it's better that I show you on an actual vehicle. I think on the door, yeah, doors on the outside, on the right side, they are multi-joint. Here, multi-joint hinge, and this way door kinda is jumping out of the body, and this type of hinges on the real cars they usually use on a bonnet, on a hood. Here actually I have example one joint hinge and multi-joint hinge, one animation, and you can see the problem with it very clearly. Look, this type of opening is not really possible, and it's not gonna look realistic. One joint hinge, even though it's simple to animate, but you're gonna have to have the multi-joint hinge like this. Like this, and I will try to demonstrate, and I'll try quickly recreate it in this subscriber request. So just a second. I'm going to recreate it here on the right side, rear door. I already have copied some geometry pieces, and I'm going to show you how to make this type of multiple joint hinge from scratch. Not really from scratch. We have now this bone system. There is a main bone. All bones are attached, supposed to be attached. I don't even know, are they attached? Oh no, they are not attached. Well, it's not difficult, just parent them to the main bone. Okay, probably I make a mistake. Let's. No, I thought it's going to mess it up. Oh yeah, it did mess it up. Look, yeah, you have to be really careful when you attach it to the main bone. See how it does work right now? Because of the inverse kinematics used in this bone number 9. And if I just without really thinking attached it to all these bones to main bone, it messes it up. Let's demonstrate it one more time. It broke. You see, it did break the inverse kinematic system. So you have to be careful with that, and you cannot attach all of them at once. So I think here you can attach this bone during making example. I'll try to explain it to you more clearly why only these two bones. Yeah, now it does work. Why only this and this bone can be connected to main bone. Okay, well, let's start recreate bone system for a hinge. This hinge. It's when I'm doing this type of rigging of the hinges in my personal project. Usually I'm not doing the geometry, I'm doing geometry later, because it's very difficult to predict the correct way of the opening. So during this tutorial I'll try to explain it. I'll try to show you an example. For example, geometry looks like this, and if geometry already made, I have to basically repeat this system. So what I mean, just duplicate by pressing Shift D, duplicating bone, and move it to the 3D cursor, and another hinge point is over here, so we're moving by pressing Shift S, moving cursor to select it. I already moved it. It was here, the cursor, 3D cursor, so I'm selecting this hinge point, hinge joint, and pressing cursor to select it. Now because cursor moved here, we can move this part of the bone right there. Shift S, selection to cursor. Okay, then by pressing E button on the keyboard, extruding and adding another bone, and also we have to move to the exact point of the joint, exact position of the joint, and we have second bone, and same way we're doing third bone, and also by moving cursor, moving a bone to the correct position. Okay, this is base of this hinge system, but in order to inverse kinematic, we're basically faking this mechanism animation, and we need inverse kinematics. We need to use I key, it's here, but for that this amount of bones not enough, so we have to have two bones in the system to end, like It's a little tail thing, and we have to have another bone as a kind of target. So we're selecting this bone 15 and duplicating it. And because they're bone 16 and bone 15 at the exact position, we need to differentiate them. We have to make it different looking, so I scaled it a little bit. It's probably not visible because I use sticks, so let me change the display of it to show you what I mean. Here, bone 16 and bone 15. In bone 16 you can see it's bigger, so okay, in the wireframe mode you will be able to see it. And we need bone 16 and the exact position of the bone 15, and to differentiate them even more we probably should rename it. So it's not bone 16, it's a bone target. Let's name it target. So, and it has to be an exact position of the bone 15. So because 3D cursor is already there, we just move it to this bone target by pressing Shift S. Oh, I messed up accidentally, so I need to move cursor, Shift S, moving cursor to select it here, and selecting this bone target and press Shift S, selection to cursor. Okay, now it's in its position, and this is a very important thing. This last target bone has to be disconnected from main bone system. Look, now if I'm moving, it's moving as a one whole system, but the target bone has to be detached from this bone system because it's just a target. It needs to be disconnected for inverse kinematic system. So we're selecting this bone and pressing Alt P, clear parent, I think. I used to use clear parent, and if we're selecting this bone system now and try to move it, you see bone target stays at its place, it's not moving. So this is very important. And now we need inverse kinematic bone, and inverse kinematic bone has to be just before target bone, and in our case it's bone 14. So well, I already showed you the I differentiate this bone 15 and bone target so you can see it. So I will move to different view mode from octahedral to sticks again, and with the bone 614 selected in a pose mode, you have to select this little icon and add inverse kinematics. And if now you try to animate, it's not really working because you have to add target armature and you have to add target bone, and as we called it before, bone target. So even now it's not gonna, well, it is working, it does work, but sometimes this IK inverse kinematics could be complicated and have more than 4 bones jointed. So what I do, I'm changing chain length. Well, you can with right here change the length check. I'm sorry, I'm not expressing it very clearly, but because automatically it does it from front to end of the bone system, and here you can select where you need it. And because it's just a 4 bones, it's not really visible. It has to be more than 4, like a 5-10 bone system, then you will be able to see it. Right here it's not going to be really visible. So, well, we have working bone system. Now we need attached the door itself to this bone system, the door panel. And also very important thing, to make animation correctly, like from tutorials, I don't really know why, but you have to change rotation mode from quaternion to XYZ Euler. They say that to avoid some issues with it. So I don't really know why it's supposed you have to do that, but from tutorials I learned, they all do this thing. They change from quaternion to XYZ Euler. So okay, well, and let's attach this door panel to our bone. And you see, like when you try this animation, you kind of can see it's it has to be attached to this bone 13. And for that, what we do, we select this object, and you add vertex group, and you name vertex group exactly to what bone it is supposed to be attached. And it is, as we know, a bone 0.013. And but it's not enough, because if you try to animate it right now in pose mode, it's not gonna work because it's not enough. You have to add to this object the armature added, and even now it's not gonna work. Look, even after you added armature, yeah, it's not working yet because of the all vertices excuse me, all vertices of this geometry has to be added to this vertex group bone 13. So not added, assign. Yeah, you just go to the edit mode, select all the vertices, and assign. Click here, assign. And now if we try to animate it, it's supposed to work. Yeah, it does work. It is jumping out of it, but it really depends on the shape of the car. Because look, even though it's opening, and it's not opening a lot, like it has to be open wider to look realistic, and it's going to create an obstacle to the front door. So when you're making something like that, you have to be really careful. You have to kind of think ahead what you should do and how you should do it. And it's all unfortunately not easy. All the rigging thing is, this personal to me is not easy. It's very confusing, complicated, in my opinion, overly complicated. There has to be some simpler way to do it, but unfortunately I don't know this simpler. And it's just the hinges, you know, like in order to make complex animation like suspension and other stuff, it has to be even more, the rigging system has to be much more complicated, and it is, I gotta tell you, it is not easy. So if you're trying to do something similar, be prepared that it's not going to work first time, probably. I'm in computer graphics 20 years now, since 2001, over 20 years, and I started with 3ds Max, and I don't know, well, in 3ds Max I didn't really do that kind of complex rigging. All the rigging I did in 3ds Max was very simplified, and it was character. With characters it's a little bit easier, at least seems easier, but with the precise mechanisms it is unfortunately not that easy. And if you wanna attach not only door panel, all other stuff, you're kind of doing it similar way, but be careful, like you see this piece of the mechanism with the green outline, it has to be attached not to the bone 13, but it has to be attached to bone 14. It's animated. Probably I should make a little animation to illustrate it more clearly. Okay. Made a little animation, and as you can see, like if we add this piece to bone 13 where the door panel is, second, assign it and add bone system. Now if we see animation, it's wrong, it's attached to the wrong bone, and if we change it to 14, see, it's attached to the correct place, the joint, the mechanism part, mechanism piece. This has to be attached to a bone 13, I'm sorry, and okay, I have many different pieces, geometry, and adding bone system one by one could take a lot of time. Unfortunately, I don't want to make this video too lengthy, because lengthy videos are difficult to upload from place where I am right now. I am in the middle of nowhere, well, you probably can get the basic idea how it does work, but yeah, I'll try to make all of them. And this, no, this object, it has to be still bone 13. Okay. Huh. And then work. I'm doing something wrong. There is a mistake. Look, it does matter, because what name you're typing here, from lower with lowercase or higher case. Is that correct to say? This thing and this little thing in it, you see, it didn't work. Now it's working. It does work because I fixed this little mistake. Yeah, this reading thing can get very lengthy, and you have to be very careful too. And you have to have a lot of practice. Sadly, it's not easy at all. Simulating this kind of complicated hinges in engineering programs also actually not that easy. In actual engineering programs like CATIA and others, it could get really difficult too. And you have to have some basic engineering knowledge or something like that. Well, this was it, I think, for today. I hope I didn't forget anything. I did show you step by step how to make complex hinge, but you know, my advice to you, try to keep everything simple, like here, one like not multi-joint hinge, but like simple, a single joint hinge. But with single joint hinge on the complex shapes, it might not work. Now it's working because the hinge position, it's like kind of matching cut lines, because you know, like if the cut line would be different and would go like here, it could cause you some problems. You have to pay close attention to that, how the cut lines are going, and sometimes like you cannot really well, I'm with my personal project, I'm making cut lines where it's comfortable, like the way it's more like in practical way, like it's supposed to be built if it was real, in order to make it look logical. So well, that was it for today. I hope you'll learn something from this, and if you like it, if you don't like it, you can always leave a mean comment in the comment section below. And till next time, bye bye.